For our first story, government has been accused of not showing enough commitment to recovering over 1.2 billion cedis in soft loans granted service providers under the defunct Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Agency, GYEEDA.
This was after it emerged at Monday's sitting of Parliament's Public Accounts Committee that some of the beneficiaries of the interest-free loans were yet to pay back. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Marietta Brew Apiaupong, appeared before the committee.
Minister, what our colleague is trying to ask, it doesn't look like we have answered very adequately. He says, you were talking about lack of legislation. There wasn't legislation. There wasn't legislation. What he's saying is that the Constitution was in place. The Financial Administration Act was in place. The Procurement Act was in place. And yet, we see these enormous infractions.
Though companies like RLG and Azontaba Cottage Industries have paid money owed the state, they fell short in paying the required interest. The AG is also yet to get prosecution of persons alleged to have taken money illegally under GYEEDA. The issue took center stage at the park sitting on Monday. According to the Attorney General, RLG, Azontaba Cottage Industries, Craft Pro Limited, Zero Group of Companies, Diogiwu Agricultural Training Center and New Vision won separate contracts running into nearly 1 billion Ghana cedis to undertake various training modules and employment under GYEEDA, but only RLG and Azontaba have paid an amount of 7.8 million Ghana cedis and 45 million cedis respectively taken from government.
A sum of 300,000 Ghana cedis was given to CDP as an interest-free loan, and this was captured in the Auditor General's report. Now, from the documentation that has subsequently been supplied to us by YEA, an amount of 673,000 Ghana cedis was owed to CDP. Now, this interest-free loan has been offset against this amount, and so CDP no longer owes YEA. Asibit and Honorable Abuga Pele, the prosecution has closed this case. A submission of no case was dismissed by the court. An application for stay of proceedings before the High Court was dismissed. There's currently another application pending before the Court of Appeal, which has not yet been heard. But
the rest are yet to settle their indebtedness to the state. While some of the companies are contesting the audit findings against them, the rest are asking for more time to pay back the interest-free loan. Responding to the issues before the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, the Attorney General says government wants to exhaust the legal processes in getting the monies back.
Due process has to be followed. I mean, there's no way we can rush this case. These are people's rights, and people could be imprisoned if they are found guilty. And therefore, even though it might seem to you that there is a delay, all we are doing is following due process and making sure that people get the hearing that they are entitled to. Mr. Chairman.
And our correspondent in Parliament, Elton John Brobe, spoke to a member on the Public Accounts Committee, Isaac Isiama, who is of the opinion government was simply not interested in retrieving the monies.
Most unfortunate. You see, look at the response. It is not the best of responses at all. Clearly, it demonstrates that we are not serious at retrieving the stolen funds. A whopping amount of 1.5 billion Ghana cedis in GYEEDA's scandal, only the report and what is captured here in the Auditor General's report, and also the Ministerial Committee of Inquiry that the ministry itself set it up. Clearly, a whopping sum of about 1.5 billion Ghana cedis unaccounted for, stolen. And if like the efforts being made, It's very little. The effort being made is very little. It clearly shows that the government is not serious. It's not committed to retrieving the stolen funds.
But clearly you can tell from the Justice Minister's response to the Public Accounts Committee that some work has been done. For example, if you look at RLG, the total indebtedness was 7.8 million Ghana cedis. Payment to date so far is 7.8 million Ghana cedis. Asontaba Cottage Industries, 45 million. They've paid all. Even though in the same report, it's talking about the fact that they were supposed to pay an interest of 22%, but ended up paying 15%. So some work has been done.
That's why we've asked the question for verification of those amounts being quoted. We are told that it's been paid into Yoko's account, so it's not yet gone into the consolidated account. So it is when it goes to that it can be conclusive. We don't even have that fact. But be as it may, this amount, for example, so you mean somebody takes 7 million Ghana cedis 4 years ago and today he pays the same amount and we are satisfied? At what interest? So those are the issues. So you see, when you do that, all that you are attempting to portray to Ghanaians is that you are interested in promoting corruption at the highest level. Because then you give money to me, 50 million Ghana cedis, I go and work with it the next 5 years. I bring the same amount. That's the issue. So at what interest rate are they retrieving those funds? Clearly, my brother, it's obvious the whole thing is so smelly, it doesn't speak well of government. Government should let us know that at what interest is he collecting this amount. And the
according to this report, they were to pay 22%, but ended up paying 15%.
Quoted 7 million Ghana cedis, and the other amount is how much? What?
45 million
Ghana cedis. So let them put maybe put together 60 million Ghana cedis. The amount in question is 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. At the time, overall, at the time it was about $1.2 billion. At the time when it happened, 2012, it was about $1.2 billion. So if today you make an effort to retrieve maybe 100 million Ghana cedis, what is the percentage lost to the state? So clearly, what we have retrieved so far is peanut, and not even with interest attached. So what we see so far is peanut. It doesn't show that the government is interested in it.
You think that government is full dragging on the recovery of this amount of money? Why?
Conniving, colluding, trying to partner in crime in this whole scam. Understand? This whole scam is perpetrated by government involvement.
Why do you say
clearly.
that?
I mean,
very serious allegation against government.
No. Are they serious in collecting it? It happened 2012. 2012, we lost about 1.5 billion Ghana at the time, $1.2 billion.
Some of the cases are in court, and she's explained the reason why they're unable to get to them.
I'm happy to have it. Total amount in court being pursued, not even up to 6 million Ghana cedis. The total amount in court being pursued. Put the two cases together and add it. The figures are here. It's not even up to 6 million Ghana cedis. So where are the rest of the funds, of the stolen funds? The money, where are the rest?
Employment and Labour Relations Minister Haruna Iddrisu told Joy News steps were also being taken to ensure value for money, and that the new agency established to replace the now defunct JIDA
goes into service charges against what beneficiary allowances should be. Like in the past, you could have a situation where a service provider got 400 or 500 or 600 from government in respect of a beneficiary, but ended up on the basis of his cost and bank borrowing to return less than just 100 Ghana to the beneficiary. Now, 65% of the dedicated amount of Youth Employment Agency accruing from Communication Service Tax, Disassemble Common Fund, and the GET Fund will be dedicated to payment of beneficiary allowances on a dedicated billed payroll system. And the new policy directive is that each beneficiary should earn 250 Ghana cedis as allowance, and 50 goes into the Provident Fund, that when he's exiting, he can go home after the 2 years with the accumulation of the 50. That's the policy directive we've received from high authority. The other is in respect of collaboration. For instance, if they want to roll out youth in afforestation, the most appropriate institution, they should do it with the Forestry Commission. You want to roll out community teaching assistant, you should do it with the Ghana Education Service under the Ministry of Education. You want to roll out health assistant training program, you do it with the Ghana Health Service under the Ministry of Health. So you would see in the coming weeks, months, and years, that a certain amount of the Youth Employment Accrued Fund will go to support public institutions that are dedicated to building skills, like the National Vocational Training Institute, the National Youth Authority, but the training institutions under the National Youth Authority are also responsible for skills. I mean, we've often left out a category of young people, those into masonry, carpentry, fabrication, hairdressing. Our young people, if they are trained and supported, can earn a living with that, and we expect that we'll do this model as a collaborative initiative of the Youth Employment Agency.
So when is it starting? The 100,000 people that are expected to be employed?
It is ongoing. I think already we've exceeded or close to 25,000. The health assistant will look at 20,000 young people. MVTI should be training some 6,000 to 10,000 persons, and youth enterprise support, which will focus primarily on entrepreneurship. Young entrepreneurs who want startup capital to start some businesses would also get some support. I've accordingly requested that 5 million Ghana cedis be dedicated to the Youth Enterprise Support Initiative.
We'll have to move on to some other subjects. And a media monitoring report released by the Media Foundation for West Africa found that members of the New Patriotic Party use more abusive language on radio than any other political party.
The report, based on the monitoring of 516 programs on 40 radio stations for the period April 18 to 30 this year, names political parties whose officials, affiliates and supporters used abusive language, individuals and radio presenters who used abusive language, and radio stations on which the indecent expressions were used. It is the first of several media monitoring reports to be issued by the Media Foundation for West Africa before, during and after this year's elections.
The project, which will be expanded to cover 70 radio stations across the country by July 2016, is expected to keep politicians on their toes with the ultimate aim of sanitizing the political atmosphere for peaceful elections. The New Patriotic Party topped the log with 27 recorded incidents of unsavory utterances, followed by the ruling NDC with 16 incidents. Executive Director of Media Foundation for West Africa explained the criteria used.
We do look at what are the stations that are the most influential, on which when people say something, it goes that far. What are the stations located in areas that people would designate as violence prone, for which reason if something is said on that station, it could potentially lead to something that we all don't want. So these are the benchmarks that we've used to select the 40 and ultimately the 70 that we'll be monitoring. And we're hoping that as we do it, stations that are not even part of the monitoring may advise themselves.
He also describes as unacceptable how political parties cloud the media with unsavory utterances during elections, and said the campaign is aimed at getting politicians to campaign on issues, not insults.
It's unfortunate that we are in a country where elections, which are just about determining who should be our leaders, president and parliamentarians, always turn out to be something that puts the nation on the brink. I don't see why we should always get ourselves in that. But so long as we are into that, we would have to continue to make our separate contributions. The media have a big role to play. If the media hold the politicians accountable, if the media really push the politicians to focus on issues rather than insults, we'll be getting the kind of democracy that we want.
In all, a total of 87 incidents of indecent expressions were recorded on 18 out of the 40 radio stations monitored.
A surgeon and human anatomy specialist is suggesting the Electoral Commission adopt a system where suspected minors seeking to be registered as voters would be made to produce an X-ray of their leg bones to confirm their age.
Dr. Archibald Frederick Mackenzie Baidu explains that at age 18, the lower end of the leg bone, known as the tibia, would have transformed from cartilage into a complete bone. Dr. Baidu, who is a fellow of the Royal College of Surgeons in Edinburgh, notes that persons whose X-ray shows cartilage at the lower end of the tibia cannot possibly be 18 years.
If we take the tibia, for instance, which is the main bone in the leg, at birth there is hardly any ossification center in the lower end. At first it is in the form of a cartilage. By the passage of time, this becomes a solid bone. By the time the child is 17 years, it is completely ossified. So if a child should come to the registration center claiming that he is 18 years old and a simple x-ray is taken of this, we can say almost with certainty that if that part is completely ossified, then we'll have no doubts in our minds. If it is not ossified, then it will raise an eyebrow.
The opposition New Patriotic Party says President Mahama's claims in a BBC recent interview that he has never received bribes could not be supported, explaining there have been too many questionable deals involving him to raise sufficient doubt over his claims in that very interview.
President Mahama, if you'd quite remember, in that interview with BBC's Peter Okoche, had not placed himself in any position to be offered bribes. That's what he said. Neither had he received any. So here's a reminder of what the president said.
What about you, Mr. President? Have you been offered a bribe before?
You mean as president?
As John Mahama.
As a human being?
As a person.
Any human being in the world would have encountered, corruption in a way, one way or the other, either being offered a bribe or a bribe being demanded from you. What you need to do is to put yourself in a position...
Mr. President, did you take it?
No, I haven't taken a bribe. No, but I'm just going to explain to you. What you need to do is to put yourself in a position where you are not offered a bribe, and that's what I've done. I don't take decisions on procurement. I don't take decisions in respect of anything as president. All that is done at the technical level, and so at the technical level they decide who should win a contract, and if they want it fair and square, that's it.
And follow with this in a statement in Accra Monday. The MPP stated that previous allegations of dubious deals involving President Mahama as vice president have not been properly investigated.
The statement also goes on to cite 6 deals, the sole-sourced nation single window contracts for West Blue, the 3.6 million Ghana cedis Smarties Bars Brandon scandal, $88 million Emerald Jet scandal, the $10 million STX scandal, $600 million worth of contract with Shady Careers Carval, and the secret illegal lodging of some $250 million in UBA. And the statement went on to elaborate on the sole-sourced nation single window contract for West Blue. There's more here on the show this morning during AM Talk.
And that'll be it for the news for the morning. As always, you want to get interactive, please make sure you do so because we have the pages available for you. On Facebook, it is Joy News on TV. And on our platform on WhatsApp, through the number 0560 800,000, you can reach us. We'll have to take a break. When we come back, we'll have a lot more for you.